Welcome to the Infuse Compassion Podcast, hosted by me, Amy Quisenberry.
And me, Mark Carpenter.
We are on a mission to make this world a kinder place for us all by bringing healthier human connection to communities, families, and organizations of all types and sizes.
Our goal is to create stronger relationships, more inspired teams, increased trust, and improved results.
So let's get started with more ways to infuse compassion into our world. Welcome back, Compassionators, to another episode of the Infuse Compassion Podcast. I am so excited for our guest today. There's something really important that we're going to talk about today. And I think authenticity is something that Mark and I really try to bring consistently. That's our dedication. That's our commitment to you. And we've got a guest today that's really going to get to the heart of this. So I'm going to turn it over to my good buddy, Mark, to do the introductions.
All right, Amy. Thrilled to have with us today, Larry Levine. Larry is the best-selling author of a couple of books, Selling from the Heart and Selling in a Post-Trust World. Full disclosure, I have my copy of Selling from the Heart right here with me. And this is like, I was going to say it's a humble brag, but it's not really a humble brag. It's just a brag. I've got an autographed copy. So I'm a cool person because I have one of Larry's autographed books. He is also the co-host of two podcasts, Selling from the Heart and Culture from the Heart, which is a fairly new podcast that Larry's been talking to us about. Encourage you to go look those up. He has got tremendous experience in the B2B technology space in sales. And he takes that real world experience into helping teams leverage the power of authenticity to grow revenue, grow themselves, and enhance the lives of their clients. And I love the focus on enhancing the lives of their clients, not just enhancing their pocketbook, which is, I think, a lot of times what we think about with salespeople. And so I want to just let Larry talk a little bit more about this concept, because he says he believes that people would much rather do business with someone who sells from the heart as opposed to a sales rep who's an empty suit. So Larry, welcome to the podcast. Talk to us about that concept. What do you mean by a sales rep who's an empty suit?
Oh, we're going to have a great time with this. First of all, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for entrusting me with your audience. And we're going to have a good time today. But, as I was writing Selling from the Heart, and I knew I was kind of bringing the book to a close, I go, you know what? I got to figure out how to just pack the end of this with a punch. And what I'm getting ready to say, this isn't a disrespect to the sales world, because I love every lick of the sales world. This is designed to get salespeople, sales leaders to think. In a world that lacks trust, in a world that doesn't think salespeople are credible, in a world full of skepticism and doubt when it comes to salespeople, if you're not engaging, if you're not educating, if you're not exciting your clients and future clients into A, having a conversation with you, and B, exciting them into thinking different, they're going to view you as being empty. And it's just the whole last part of Selling from the Heart was just to get people to think. It's almost that mirror moment going, you know what? Am I contributing to the lives of my clients? Am I helping them become better? Am I engaging with them? Am I being a beacon of light? Am I shining the light on them, or am I shining the light on me? And quite frankly, I can take this from the late 80s when I started selling all the way up to today. And yes, I'm, leading this movement on Selling from the Heart. I'm a salesperson just like everybody else is. And it deeply concerns me that the sales world is where it's at. Sales is a very noble profession. Heck, if we don't sell things, then money doesn't move through the economy at the rate that it does. It's just, how are you going about doing this? So when I say no more empty suits, it's just a rally cry. And the rally cry is to say, hey, sales world, let's wake up. Let's wake up. We can do better. And it means, how are you educating? Am I bringing meaningful insights and business ideas? And am I helping people cast vision inside their company? Am I engaging with them in a way, or am I just speaking at them? Am I engaging with them in a way that gets them to think different about their business by being curious? And am I exciting them? In other words, am I bringing passion to the forefront? Or am I just bringing just plain vanilla, boring conversation to the forefront? There's something to be said for how salespeople deliver their message. And there's just two things, and I live by these every single day, is how are you connecting to people and how are you relating to people? And the faster we can accomplish that, the faster people will open up. And I came out of the technology space. In other words, I just sold office technology for 30 years. Some of the most highly competitive things you can sell in a very insane city, Los Angeles. And what really helped me get to where I was at, I wasn't the smartest guy out there. I was not the smartest salesperson. I wasn't the most strategic salesperson. There's people way smarter than me. I just played by the mantra that I was going to outcare everybody. And then when I sat in front of somebody, this is what was going through my head. The more I'll use Amy as an example since we're here with Amy and Mark, but I'll use Amy's name just for the purpose of personalizing it. I knew that if I was in a conversation with Amy, the more comfortable I made Amy feel about me, the more comfortable she'd become. The more comfortable Amy became with me, the more she would open up and share what I call business secrets. And the business secrets that Amy's sharing are the secrets she's not sharing with any other salesperson because they're not educating, engaging, exciting Amy in a conversation and making Amy feel heard.
Yeah. And it leads, that shows the trust. That shows that Amy's going to trust you to open up with those sales secrets.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think everybody in this just first 5 minutes here has seen why we invited Larry to be with us today. Because sales is such a profession that's known for churn and burn. You know, it's pushing through. I got to meet those goals. I got to get the numbers however I can.
Yep.
How do you get people who are in that mindset a little bit or in that mode of that's what they're getting, maybe even pushed by their leaders to do? How do you get them out of that mode and into the authenticity that you were just talking about?
You know, it's interesting because I came out of a highly transactional industry. In fact, I would say this, and this is probably going to upset the apple cart a little bit. I'd say most industries are transactional. And they're going to fight me on this, saying, no, we're not transactional, but I'm going to beg to differ because it's the way you carry yourself. And it was really interesting because I was in an environment where I got squashed for numbers. Hey, what are you going to sell this week? What are you going to sell next week? What's your 30-day numbers? Look, I totally get it. It's part of business, it's a part of sales, but it doesn't have to be that way. And finally, and I encourage people, just please hear me out on this, is you can change the paradigm. When I say you as an individual salesperson, if you're in a situation where you feel you're being squashed and you feel like you've been treated as a number, or I'm in this air quote transactional environment, well, guess what? You have a couple choices here. You can leave that environment, totally up to you. You can flip the script and do something different. Or the third thing, which is what I did and which I'd encourage people to do, is you got to start having some brave, courageous conversations with the people that you report to. Acknowledge the fact, hey, I understand we're in this environment where probably somebody above you is pressing us for numbers. I totally get this. But here, I just want to share with you, I believe in my heart there's a better way to do things. And by the way, what I'm getting ready to tell you, I pulled off decades ago, is I sat down with my managers. I sat down with the people that I reported to and said, hey, listen, I totally get this. I totally get we're responsible as salespeople. We're responsible for numbers. That means our budget and our quota. It's how we get to that or how we exceed it. You can squash me with it, right? You can drop the hammer on me and you can squash all this. Or you can allow me to be the best version of myself, do some things I feel that could help drive incremental sales. And here's what's interesting. Did it work the first time? No, but I just kept doing it. I kept having these conversations. And I said, hey, by the way, if it doesn't work, I'll do it your way. I'll totally do it your way. But if you start seeing the results, which means increased revenue and added profit, then can we talk about what I'm doing? Yes or no? And I'm sharing this because that's what I would encourage salespeople to do. And the only reason I shared it like that is it took me a while to figure out that it's okay to be different. Because, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because so often early on in my sales career, I would try to mirror and mimic, and I write about in the beginning of Selling from the Heart, is I was trying to mirror and mimic salespeople, the successful salespeople, however I saw it based on numbers on a board. And it wreaked havoc with me. I just couldn't do it anymore because it wasn't me. And there's so many salespeople out there today, whether you're early on in your career in your early 20s or you're a tenured grizzly veteran. We got to work on ourselves, and we got to bring the best version of ourselves to the forefront, because that's what people are buying. They're going to buy you way before they buy into your company. And so this whole transactional mindset that a lot of us in sales have to deal with, it really messes with us. I only know because I talk to salespeople who they are just train wrecks because they're always hammered for numbers. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Well, it's hard to build authentic relations and bring any kind of meaningful value in sales if you got a transactional mindset. Because if you carry yourself as a transaction, you'll get treated as a transaction. If you have transactional speak, somebody's going to come along with better transactional speak. And we all know what's going to happen. I think it's hard to build sustainable relationships with your clients if you carry yourself as a transaction. And I will tell you this, in a lot of the industries and the channels that we work with here at Selling from the Heart, they're very transactional, massively transactional, but we're seeing transformation in sales results because they're carrying themselves in a different fashion. They're building deeper relationships. They're bringing business insights like none other. They're bringing an experience like none other. And they're being disciplined with it. Does it happen overnight? No. But you can't replace transactional speak and the way you're treating your salespeople as transactions. You can't change overnight. It takes one step at a time, one day at a time. But if you're willing to play the long game with this, and this is what I really struggle with this early on, is as I was being treated as a transaction and I was carrying myself as a transaction, it was hard to keep a consistent focus on budget numbers because I was always worried about what was going to happen today. Yeah. But when I started marrying short-term thinking, in other words, short-term thinking mean I got to make a sale today or I got to hit numbers for this week. I totally get it. But when I learned how to play the long game and married long-term vision with short-term thinking, so my career started taking off. And that's what I would encourage salespeople and sales leaders to think about. I understand and I respect y'all have to hit numbers. It's how you're going about hitting those numbers that create sustainability, trust, and credibility.
That is so powerful. And there's so much, Larry, that you've shared. I've got like 5 questions, but I'm gonna start with the first, which is so much of the authenticity, I believe, lies with a person's belief in what they're selling. So what do you tell the people who really don't believe in what they're selling and they've looked for other jobs? They're struggling to find other work. So this is where they need to be right now, or at least that's their belief, right? So it's not, I can't just go out and find something. I've looked.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling to connect because I'm not connecting with my product. How do you help those people go into this beautiful place of still connecting with the client? Because I believe in what you're saying 1000%.
I would say this, and I'm going to take this a little bit deeper than just the product, is if you don't believe in yourself and if you're not connecting to yourself, I'm here to tell you this, it doesn't matter about the product. Mm-hmm. It really does not matter about the product. I want us to think about what I just said for a second. There's a lot of salespeople that are selling really great products, and I'm going to air quote this. They might be winging it. Again, it's just an air quote. It's a figure of speech here, that haven't really fully connected to themselves. But to your question where, if you don't believe in a product, what do? I'd say first and foremost, I'm going to throw a stake in the ground on this. Go find a product that you believe in. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of great companies out there. No one's forcing you to stay at this company where you don't believe in the product and or leadership and or management. That decision's totally up to you. But it goes back to this is you got to work on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, heck, I sold things my whole entire life that required service that would break at the inopportune times. There's this stigma out there with people who sold copy machines still to this day, right? It's just the copier guy. It's the copier gal. There's a stigma around that. Literally, I sold things that required massive amounts of service at the most inopportune times. But I said, you know what? I'm going to become the best copier salesperson out there. Why? Because the things that I put into offices, the copiers I put into offices, required people to print and copy things. That required communication. That required them to get corporate communication out and things like that. So the reason I share this is you got to start connecting to yourself and believe in yourself and then go, you know what? The things that I am selling at this company, whatever that name of that company is, what's it enabling these people to do that you're selling these things to? I'll give you an example, right? I do a lot of work in the food services industry. It's not just about people who sell food to restaurants. It's about people who sell food to restaurants so when their patrons come in, they have an amazing experience. People sell food to restaurants so when daddies go out with their daughters on a daddy-daughter date, they have an amazing experience. People sell food to restaurants because it enables that restaurant owner to provide that first date experience for somebody. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And I think that's what sellers, we got to get back to. It's not about the product. What does the product allow that company to do that you're selling it to? You got to think way beyond this.
Yeah. It's not about selling the product. It's about selling the experience that product is going to bring to people, and the easing of a pain that it's going to bring to somebody.
Yeah, and it may not be a pain, right? This one just gets me is as salespeople, we are coached and trained, find the pain, find the problem, and all that. Totally get it. I totally get it. But I'm here to flip the script on this one and say, as salespeople, what would it be like if you help somebody cast vision for their business who may not know? What would it be like if you sat with a business owner, an executive, instead of talking about pain and problems, talk about opportunities? Hey, in working with companies just like yours, here's how we've helped them go from here to here. The reason why I bring this up is within minutes of a conversation, we're digging in as salespeople trying to find pain and problems. Meanwhile, this person's going, I just met you.
Yeah.
I don't even trust you yet. I may not even think you're credible, but you're asking me questions around pain and problems. I think we flipped the script on this as sales professionals. The big difference between sales professionals and sales reps is as sales professionals, if you're in front of an executive, and again, this is just how my brain works. I do know this. Executives, presidents, CEOs, I don't care if it's a small company, mid-sized, large company, doesn't matter. Executives, a lot of them are visionary type people. They're looking forward. They're not looking back. They may look back to help them propel forward, but in a room full of executives, they're thinking about what's going on 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, 24 months later. Why not as a sales professional who deeply believes in themselves, start talking to them about and discussing with them how to cast vision. What's the next 6 months look like? What do you need to remove off your business plate in the next 6 months? Hey, can I ask you to look forward towards the end of this year? This year is a success if what happens. Mm-hmm. Those are conversations as an executive I want to get involved with as a salesperson. Is pain and problems and challenges going to come out from that? Abso-freaking-lutely. It just depends on how you ask the question and how deep you want to go with the conversation.
And Larry, I really appreciate this because, I get calls all the time where people are trying to sell me something, right? And they are going down this pain piece that you've talked about. And I'll call it presenting the call as, I just want to connect. Mm-hmm. And then it turns into this. And I get this like feeling up up my spine of it's another sales call.
Yeah.
This is just another sales call. Like you really are not interested in connecting. You're really not interested in my business. I can feel it. And so I appreciate you calling this out, and not just calling it out, but also saying there's a better way, folks. Like there's a better way, because I'll tell you what, I feel way more invested with someone when they're talking about a future with me than trying to show me my struggle. Like, you don't think I know my struggle? Really? You don't think I know it? I don't need a stranger to come here and tell me about my struggle, right? But I love the flip that you've said. So thank you for that. I want to take you to culture, because one of the things that we talked about before the call, when you brought up your selling culture, tell me the name.
Culture from the heart.
Culture from the heart. I've got it here. Okay. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how important the culture is, and some of the conversations that you've been having with the guests on your podcast, and just these, can we get some of that out here, please?
Yeah, no, of course. And here's what, and thank you for bringing this to the forefront. This is what's interesting. At Selling from the Heart was born out of a podcast. Daryl Amy, my podcast partner and my business partner, we born this whole thing, this movement we call Selling from the Heart, out of a podcast. So for the past 9 years, every week, religiously, we get to talk to cool thought leaders, salespeople all over the world around what does it mean to sell from the heart, authenticity, and bring in trust and so forth. And it's built the platform that we get. It's like our mission. It's our passion project. And we turned it into a business. But it was about a year or so ago, we would get sidebar messages saying, hey, I believe in this. I follow you guys. I implement all of this. In fact, I've seen great results, but you know what? My company, whatever the case may be, they just don't believe in any of this selling from the heart stuff. And so we knew we were kind of onto something, and we sat down and we strategized about it and met with our podcast producer, and we said, why don't we start finding the heart-centered companies of America? Why don't we start finding who these people are, the CEOs and the presidents that run these companies, and let's interview them and find out what makes them so heart-centered and shine the light on them. We're learning a lot about heart-centered CEOs that are out there. I'll get into some of the words that we've kind of unpacked here in a second. But the other thing is, it's just our belief that we're shining the light on these people. Hey, we want these heart-centered sales professionals who may not be in heart-centered companies to go out and find these. And now we're just shining the light on these CEOs. And we've talked to some amazing CEOs. But here's what's interesting. Every single CEO we have spoken with, and by the way, I talk to them before we ever record the podcast. And what's interesting is they're people first. They bring compassion, one of your words, they bring compassion and love into the forefront. And what's really interesting, can I give a shout out to somebody that we just interviewed, if you allow me to?
Yes.
We just interviewed Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton is the CEO of Scooter's Coffee. Amazing guy. I was introduced to Joe through Nicole Bianchi, who came on the Selling from the Heart podcast. So just a hint out there, people. You're 1 degree of separation from some amazing people. You just have to invest in your network. And Joe's the CEO of Scooter's Coffee. And what's really interesting is love is one of their core values. And one of their taglines is, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's really close to this, is they're the relational coffee company. This is like all drive-through coffee, but, and they're all franchised. So then, from corporate all the way through the franchise owners, they ooze love and they ooze relationships to the point where Joe says, you know what, some of our baristas, they know the car before they even see the person because they recognize the engine running in the car. So what's really interesting is, and I've shared this with CEOs. It's hard for your company to build this authentic culture if you don't believe in any of this and you're not modeling this. And then it's hard to talk about being heart-centered and being authentic and then have your salespeople go out there and want to do the same thing. Let's just face it, your salespeople are the revenue and profit-generating arm of your company. They're the corporate athletes in your office. If you want to have authentic sales professionals, it starts with you have to be able to model it and you got to be congruent with it. And not all companies, right? Not all companies are going to buy into it. That's okay. There's something for everybody. But I will tell you this, in the companies that we work with, when it's aligned throughout the whole company, magic starts to happen. And I share this with sellers, and we coach to it here at Selling from the Heart. You got to create what I call alignments of value. This plays in Selling from the Heart and Culture from the Heart. And so I want all your listeners to think about this, and you all think about this. I'm going to take this to the bad side for a second. We'll bring it to the good side. Is some of our worst customers, the ones that just nag on us. And we all know that. We all had them. We've all experienced it before. If you peeled this back and you peeled this back and you peeled this back, there's no alignment of values. Now, some of your best customers, the ones that bring a smile to your face when you're having a bad day, the ones that pay their invoices on time, the ones that give you referrals, the ones that slap you high fives when you walk in the office, mark my word on this, there's alignment of values. And so what I want us to think about as sales leaders, as executives, presidents of companies, what are your values? Not only what are your values, what are your company's values? What are your salespeople's values? And I look at Selling from the Heart, and I look at all of the clients we have at Selling from the Heart. Every single one of our clients we bring into our family aligns to our values and our mission and our company's values. And if somewhere in the beginning of these conversations, I sense or Daryl sense there's misalignment, I'm the first one to do this. Because I know it's going to happen.
Yeah. I love what you brought it around to here. Amy, thanks for asking the question about culture, because I think it brought it around to where I'd like to close this out. Because let's face it, everybody's in sales. It doesn't matter what position you are. Whatever you're doing, you are in sales in some way or another.
Yep.
So let's pull this all together for our listeners here. We always like to ask our guests to leave with just one thought. What is one thing that our listeners, our compassionators, can do this week to help in either their personal lives or in their organizations to infuse compassion?
It starts with, I'm going to take it down this road. It starts with how you start your morning off. Here's a question. And if you want to, compassion, that's an interesting word. But if you want to have compassion for others, it starts with having compassion for yourself. And so if there's something that your listeners can do this week, I'm going to ask them this: how are you starting your morning off? Seriously, how are you starting your morning off? I'm a big, huge, I'll tell you this. I have a big, massive man crush on Craig Rochelle. right? It's just, I really do want to, it's like my mission to meet this guy one of these days. You know, he's the pastor at Life Church, the founder of Life Church in Edmonds, Oklahoma. I've read all his books. I watch his message every single week. And I remember watching the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast one day, and he said, when I wake up in the morning, the minute my feet hit the ground, I'm intentional. The minute my feet hit the ground, I'm intentional. So what's that mean to your listeners when you start your morning off? How are you starting your morning off? Do you hit the snooze button? I love waking up in the morning and just like get like right away, my feet hit the ground and I'm ready to go. And I go right into a little bit of exercise. Then I go into a little bit of reflection. Then I go into reading. Then I do a little spiritual time. Then I go out for a walk. Then I come back and journal. How do I want my day to go? What am I looking for? What things am I grateful for? And then I start my day. I start my day every morning, and I encourage your listeners, start the morning every single day working on yourself, because how you start your day determines what's going to happen throughout the day. And if you start your day by picking up your phone, you've already lost. If you start your day by hitting the snooze button, you've already lost. But by working on yourself, this helps you bring compassion to others. You can't pour into others if you're not pouring into yourself.
Love that tip. I think that's a great place for us to end on. Larry, thank you for bringing your experience, your wisdom, your focus on that intentionality, and ways that we can all help strengthen relationships with each other, build ourselves stronger, build stronger organizations, stronger connections with those that we work with. We appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much. Compassionators, our listeners, thank you for being with us. Join us next time on the Infuse Compassion Podcast. And we're going to end with one little pitch for something that's coming up. The Infuse Compassion into Companies Conference. This is a conference that Amy and I have put together. We're in our second year. We've got some great speakers lined up. This virtual conference is on November 14th. You can get more information at infusecompassion.com, and there's a link there for registration. Or follow Amy and I on social media. You're going to see posts about this all over the place in our social media feeds in the coming days and weeks. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Let's go out and be more intentional about being compassionate, and let's have no more empty suits. Let's all sell from the heart. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infuse Compassion Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share a review and like the podcast so other compassionators can join us. Until next time, let's all do something each day to infuse compassion into the world. For more information on our guests, see the show notes. For more information on Mark and Amy, go to infusecompassion.com.